Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. My name is Stefan Choi. This is where I'm trade my Reg T account, and I use LVX to trade. So basically, today again has been a little bit of the same, which is I called it no man's land just because you don't really know which way to go. Now yesterday I was talking to you guys about if the market kept on going down that it would be bearish, but it rallied and it almost looked like it was forming like this wedge right here, which meant that the market was going to go up. The VIX was also kind of showing some weakness. You see it right here, and looked like we were going to go down. Funny thing is, this morning, overnight, the futures were kind of weak, and we actually rallied to the open. Then we went up. Then we went up, and now it's selling off again. So again, basically, whatever you think. Or whatever I think is not really coming to fruition. It seems like anytime there is some momentum to one way or another, bullish or bearish, it gets pretty much halted pretty quickly, probably because there isn't really that much conviction amongst the traders. And there's probably a lot of confusion out there in terms of the data. So as soon as the Fed kind of left it open on when they can raise interest rates, so before last time, the last meeting, it seemed like they were kind of debating whether it's going to be like June or September, and now the debate is more like it's slowly creeping in where people are asking whether they're going to raise rates at all, and if they do, most likely only one time. So, and the data has been pretty weak in the first quarter, which is causing more angst amongst the traders. So for me, a lot of times I look at the foreign markets. Looks like the DAX and the European markets are pretty much just consolidating. So are they consolidating to go up or consolidating to go down? My guess is they're consolidating to go up because the trend has been on the up. And you can see that the dollar is also starting to kind of consolidate. So you see this Bollinger Bands narrowing, which means basically maybe it might, it had such a huge run, maybe it's going to take a pause here for about a time period before it makes its next move, whether it's up or down. Obviously, I think it's going to go up. That's why I'm doing it. I also sold the calls in VOYA, so basically I'm out. So if you look at my portfolio, nothing's really changed too much. Most of these are just marks. The only thing I changed was I got out of VOYA Delta, so I'm even flatter than before, right? So I basically have nothing except essentially UUP and Yahoo, right? So I want to get long 50 contracts of UUP. I'm still waiting for the right time. I don't mind these losses right here just because I'm betting on January, so I'm not going to care as much unless it really breaks one way or another, and I just have to accumulate it as time goes because I think it's going to go up, and the dollar is going to go parity with the euro, as well as the Asian markets having to kind of do the similar thing because many of those countries are exporters as well. So I have that, and obviously I have Yahoo, which I'm bullish on, Alibaba, which I've explained like a ton of times. So you guys probably are bored by now. But essentially, I'm almost full. I want to buy maybe 3 more. and see how that goes. So that's where I'm at right now with my position. Some of the things that are interesting is people always talk about the transports. So this is a Dow Jones transport, and a lot of the Dow theorists, which have been around for a very long time, kind of believe that the transport are a leading indicator to where the market's going to go. So you can kind of see how the transports are rolling over versus the general market is not rolling over yet. And so if you believe in the theory that the Dow will follow whatever the transports are doing. Obviously, that was 100 years ago, and transport actually was the main driver. It is not so much today, essentially because the economy has changed. Also, it's very international. So just looking at the transport, I don't think it's a fair judgment. That being said, I think it's something you should keep track of. I do look at transports because I think it's a pretty important indicator. Another thing is, you know, I see the airline stocks just kind of breaking down as well. They've had a slew of bad reviews, but you know, to me, what's interesting about the airliners is if you look at these forward-looking PE, like to me they're ridiculously cheap, right? So unless something like really changed, I kind of think they're going to go up. I don't know why they're going down right now, but I think an opportunity will present itself on getting long these. Maybe it'll have to kind of hit the bottom, but basically at some point, once the PE gets to, like for American Airlines, let's actually see. This is the heat map, by the way. I always look at it just to see how the S&P 500 is doing. Yeah, it's 5. So essentially, if this thing goes to right at 5 or something similar, at that point, I think it's worthwhile. Even though if you look at the next year's earnings, it's going down. But just generally, I think with the oil prices, I'm gonna go with I think oil prices is stabilizing. I think the real question is whether the next move is up or down. More and more people think the next move in oil price is going to be up. I actually think it's still going to go down. So I think, you know, that bias is kind of making me bullish on the airliners. That doesn't mean I'm going to go in and buy anything. I'd rather just, you know, like the way I see it is like, let's say you like Delta, right? Or, you know, let's just say you like Delta, and you look at the weeklies and you see, oh, okay, this is the 50-day moving average right here, right? So if it hits the 50-day moving average, which it did before right here, that might be a good time to start looking at Delta or maybe some of the other stocks, right? They just merged, so yeah. So you can see like some stocks like Southwest been very strong, so they actually are still at the top range. You know, I think Hawaiian Airlines got a pretty big sell-off. Spirit had a pretty big sell-off, but it's kind of recovered. And then Alaska Airlines. So there's a bunch that you can look at. I think Virgin Airlines just started. So basically all this stuff, you can kind of look at which airliners you like, and you can kind of go from there. Some of the other ones, another one is this NTAP. So you see how it's been selling off, but it had this gain. So I kind of want to talk to you about NTAP real quick. it was a little interesting. So if you look at them, they provide storage and data management software. So I guess they do a lot of stuff for the film industry. You can read about it. Like what I do is I'll go here and I'll tap in NTAP, and it looks like today it was announced that they're gonna some performance metrics that's gonna make them look, I guess, better, right? And you can read this article, and it's pretty good. Tells you a little bit of what they do and how this new innovation might help. But in general, what caught my eye was all these call buying on the June 40s. So So 8,000 of these traded. If you look at it and you click on here, you can see 5,000 of them bought for 32 cents, and then you keep going. And basically, as the stock was moving up, people are buying more and more calls, right? Now, the 5,000 is easy to track. These are not as easy, but if you look at that it was a penny away from the offer, you can kind of see that. And the stock price didn't really move, and as soon as they hit, it went back to 44 cents, was most likely buying. So you can kind of track and do a little of your own investigation of what's happening, right? So my thinking is that these are sells, but these are buys, right? Because it's so close. So some of the things I look at is, okay, well, how long has this been going on, right? So if you look at, let me try and make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see. Right, so here you have the calls and puts, right? So you see how the stock did this bounce. So what I do is I'll kind of look at it here and just see how the order flow went. So here you can kind of go back to every day. Here's the option montage. And then here you have all the largest trades. You can see selling of the April 36 puts, right, was big, right? Here looks like, if this was a strangle, it looks like this guy is a seller, right? So by selling it for 245, he doesn't think it's going to go above 38.45 or below 31.55, right? So you kind of just keep going down. More call buying, but pretty small. Another huge block of selling puts here, right? And then you go through and you keep toggling, and then today you see this 5,000. So one of the things when I go through that thing that kind of interests me is I go, well, okay, what happened this April, right? What's with this April 36 puts, right? So you see how there's 8,000 open interest. I can look at it and you see how here, and you can see it in this box right here, the volume was 22,000, right? The open interest went from 220 to essentially 21,000, right? So basically this guy bought these puts on March 13th. And then in the past 3-4 days, you see the open interest going down to 8,000. So this guy's been closing. So those have been closing trades since March 26th. So he put them on March 13th. So what I do is I go back and I go to March 13th. Right, so it was here. He put them on. Stock closed at 36.82, and now that the stock is around 35, he's closing them. And who knows if this guy is actually buying? So essentially, they bought puts here. They are now closing their puts here, and now they're subsequently buying calls, which to me is a very it's very bullish in terms of the order flow. not sure if they're like hedging or whatever. But if I just read the order flow, that's pretty bullish. And you can get that information only on this software, like LVX, right? Because now what I do is now I have enough information on how people are actually placing their trades to go back and start doing some investigation, right? So now I might read about it, but I don't know too much about the stock. I might try to see, okay, why could somebody be negative? Why has the stock sold off, right? Because it's sold off pretty much since the beginning of the year, and you want to know why, right? So you need to figure out why it sold off, and then you need to kind of see if you want to make a bullish bet. Now, like to me, like this is pretty bullish. Even though if you look at it, like I could have said the same thing maybe right around here, like the next, I would have waited until it gapped up here, then it would have shown a bullish signal. If you look at this point right here, it's pretty bullish, but then it shot straight down. So I think this stock could give you some head fakes. It's not something that's so obvious, but if you think the stock is going up, and I'll take this out. If you think the stock is going up, you see how it has these trends, right? So there's a bottom, it has this big spike, and then it retraces, and then it kind of keeps going up. So it can have something similar to that if you believe in the bullish call. You know, so it looks like it's a little oversold just in general. So I thought it was interesting. So I might like, you know, dabble on some calls here. Now the ones they bought are June, so it's really far away, and they bought it for 32 cents. So if I pay 48, essentially my whole risk metrics is changing. So not, you know, just because they bought it, if you bought it for 32 cents, that's one thing, but you buying it for like 46 cents, now you're paying almost 145% of the original price that this trader got in on. So that in itself doesn't look that appealing, but the put selling versus and the call buying is something to keep track of. One other thing is, as you guys know, the screen looks a little bigger. I got some feedback saying my screen was too small, so nobody could see anything. So I decided to change the fonts so I can see it. I feel like I'm eating the screen right now. I had to reduce my LVX. I condensed it massively just so I can fit it in the screen. But hopefully this helps you guys seeing what I'm talking about when I point to a certain strike. But you know, so essentially, as a wrap up, I still don't know what to do in the marketplace. I'm gonna sit still. I closed out my VOYA. I'm still, you know, bullish on Alibaba in the long term and Yahoo, and I'm investing it through Yahoo. I'm long-term bullish on the dollar. Generally bearish on oil, and you know, I'm starting to get bullish on the airliners because of the sell-off. Obviously, you guys know I'm bullish on the European market, and looks like they're consolidating. I might wait until they consolidate, and when they start making a breakout, I might actually start buying something, right? So I don't want to buy it now. I'd rather miss like the first like 10% of the move and then jump in afterwards, or first 20%. Just because like it could kind of go here, and then I feel like people are underestimating the grease factor in all of this. So it could actually have a huge downward movement. But you know, it's too iffy. So I'm not really doing anything. But generally in the long term, you know, I'm long. I'm bullish on the German, the European, you know, like the Chinese and the Japanese markets, because they're all into like quantitative easing of some sort. But in, you know, I don't really have any bets on. So that's, you know, you can take it for what it's worth. I will be, tomorrow is a non-trading day, so I won't be on, but I'll be off next week as well. So I'll be back the following week. So hopefully you guys trade well during the during the week, and maybe by that time the market will kind of show us which way it's going. So take care, and I will talk to you guys in a week.